Hello and welcome back to Getting Started in Star Citizen. I'm Loudguns, and today we're going to look at rounding out this mini-series for the time being. I think we've covered the majority of gameplay loops and professions which are cemented in the game at the moment, but I thought it would be cool to just end on a bit of a look to the future, try and cover off some potential future professions and gameplay loops which might come in. Because one of those might be something that sort of grabs you more than the mining, trading, and bounty hunting that we've covered to date. So I firstly just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's watched the video, liked, subscribed. This has been a bit of a lockdown project for me, but what's made it even more fun is the level of engagement. I've had some great conversations with people in the comments. So with that in mind, and in the spirit of the Fortuna event that's running at the moment, decided to run a little competition. So if you think that the second Tavaran War outfit that I'm wearing is rather fetching, then please just drop me a comment down below to say what you're looking forward to in Star Citizen, maybe what you've got planned with your group of friends or with your org. I'll take all of those as entries and I'll draw one out of a hat, and that person will be the winner of this outfit from the substore. I'll also throw in 1 million Alpha UEC because this was a starter series, and hopefully that'll help someone get going, maybe contribute towards them buying their first ship. If you are new to the game, or maybe thinking about picking up Star Citizen, maybe watching this series to see if it's for you, then please consider using my referral code. It'll get you 5,000 extra UEC to begin with, and it helps me out too. So I'll pop that up in the top of the screen and leave it there for the video. It'll also be in the video description down below. And just finally, before we get going, a few people have asked me if I'm part of an org, and basically a few months ago I decided to set one up, just with some people I'd met playing the game. It's all very relaxed, but I think Star Citizen's one of those games which is, it's possible to do solo or in, a small group, but it's really best experienced as part of a bigger group, sort of working together. So if you would like to come and say hi to us, it's more of a community really, sort of find people to play with and share tips and tricks and good mining spots and good bounty hunting loadouts for this ship or that ship. Then I'll pop the link to our Discord down below, so feel free to pop in and say hi to us. So with all that said, I think it's time to start taking a look at some of the future professions and maybe what Star Citizen has in store for us. So we're going to start with Piracy, which I know has something of a bad reputation, but I think a large amount of that is down to separating out what is piracy versus what is griefing. And some people claim that they are pirates when they are griefers, and some people claim they have been griefed when they have in fact been pirated. So the key line in the sand, to my mind, is you have to have a profit motive as a pirate. Miners get their money by breaking up space rocks. Space pirates have got to make their money by stealing cargo or extorting money out of potential victims. So if you think back to like the golden age of piracy, sort of all that Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny Depp jazz, then no pirates were going along and just sinking merchant ships out of the blue. They were after the loot, after the cargo of those ships. So it's a bit tricky in Star Citizen at the moment because we don't have physicalized cargo yet. But even now, there are some players who are really pushing sort of emergent gameplay by, holding up ships, like EMPing them, making sure that they can't quantum jump by using something like a mantis, and then demanding a ransom. So that's great. That's piracy. And some players might not necessarily like this sort of thing. Particularly, I can understand, if you're the victim of it. But at the same time, it's one of the things which does make open world MMOs feel alive. So for my sins, back in the day, I played quite a lot of a game called Atlas, which, as some of you might well know, was a bit of a sham. But at the same time, certain things did happen within it which were really, really good. It was really good gameplay when, you saw a sail on the horizon and you just weren't sure whether that ship was going to turn and chase you or just sail on by. And so I think having players actively pursuing piracy is going to be great for even the rest of the player base who aren't, because it'll make you a bit more on your toes, even if you're out doing something fairly mundane. Then it will just liven things up quite a lot for you. Also means that the rest of us have to think about like how to get around the pirates. So maybe we'll need to take less obvious routes if we're trading. Maybe we don't go to less secure areas if we're mining. Um, Maybe, and this is one of the ways that it brings in more people, maybe this is going to provide work for a lot of the players who just want combat as well, but don't necessarily want to do that on the wrong side of the law. So, you know, if you're hauling expensive cargo, yes, you might have to pay some of your profits to have a fighter escort go with you, or pay for some extra crew to man the turrets on your ship. And this might not be great from a perspective of maximizing your profits, but it is great from a perspective of getting a real community around a game and sort of building relationships with other players. Uh, Elite Dangerous is probably Star Citizen's biggest competitor in the space game genre, and I played quite a lot of Elite, and I did really enjoy it. The thing which I didn't enjoy so much was the fact that you could just take your progress between single player and multiplayer. And then it became a bit like, well, if I've got to grind out money, then I'll grind it out in single player. And I really like that Star Citizen isn't going down that route. And ultimately, for pirates, it's going to get quite complicated. Like you're going to have things like you're going to be getting onto ships, going to be maybe having to breach your way in using one of these like breaching charges that CIG have showed off, or sort of cut your way through doors. Um, and I think it's going to be quite rewarding gameplay. Can you take a ship as intact as possible? Particularly when we get that physicalized cargo, and then it's possible to actually board and steal, sort of unload the cargo onto your ship, get out before the law gets to you, and sell that stuff at a port like Grimhex that caters to pirates. So I know another profession that's got people quite excited is salvage, and it's not going to be as simple as just driving up to these shipwrecks in your salvage specific ship, like a reclaimer or a vulture, and just munching it, for the parts. I think this is going to be it's going to be quite a bit of like exploration almost involved. Boarding these ships, checking what's on there, check for like particularly valuable pieces of cargo, cut out any parts which are sort of maybe not completely destroyed, um, before you ultimately get to the point where you are maybe scrapping the ship for the metals. And there's already a couple of ships sort of out there which are salvage specific, like this is the Vulture, or we also have the Reclaimer, which is currently in game. Unfortunately, you can't do anything with it. So currently, it's just a bit of a ship to go and buy in game for bragging rights, really. So I think one of the really exciting things about Salvage is going to almost be that element of exploration involved. You know, you go come across a shipwreck, and you not go quite know sort of what's on board, what dangers you might face. So it might be a really good activity for a small group of friends who are playing. You could have sort of specialist roles, like maybe one of you's particularly good at sort of operating cutting tools to cut out pieces of hardware. Maybe one of you's pretty into like the FPS type combat. Maybe you're marine effectively, who you're taking aboard these derelicts, just in case there's anything waiting to jump out at you from the shadows. And so I think it's an area where a group of mates can work really well together. So full disclaimer, some of these comments I'm going to make in this video are my own thoughts and pure theory crafting. But I think one of the probably best bits about Salvage is that I don't think to get involved with it you're going to require a industry specific ship. So what I mean by that is you can probably turn up and find a derelict in even a starter ship. As long as you've got a bit of cargo space, you could board that ship, maybe take your cutting tool and find the most valuable components. So as long as you develop a bit of knowledge of what will sell for what, you'll know whether to maybe take the quantum drive or maybe to take the power plant. Stick that in your ship, and then you can sell that, and at least you'll have got the most valuable bit out of it. You could then sell the location of that ship to someone who does have those industry specific ships. So maybe you can add a little finder's fee on top, because a large amount of this is going to be finding the derelicts in the first place. So I think it opens up gameplay for people in a lot of different ships. CIG have currently got a number of roadmap items aimed at enhancing medical gameplay in Star Citizen. So this is going to become a really big feature, because sort of the plans are very much for this whole death of a spaceman idea. So your character cannot just die over and over and over again and wake up in an easy hab, as if it was nothing but a bad dream. But if death comes with negative consequences, so maybe you lose some part of your wealth as it's passed on to your heir, then you have to have gameplay loops which allow you to avoid death. So I think that's where medical gameplay is going to really come in. So be that sort of people maybe specialize in healing injured people, maybe ambulance drivers. This is why I decided to go ahead and purchase myself a Cutlass Red in the episode where we looked at buying ships in game and kitting them out. And we've had footage in some of the recent Inside Star Citizens looking at two of the hospitals that they're developing. This one, I believe, is the one in New Babbage, and there's also one at Horizon, the landing zone, sort of scheduled for 314, 315. So I'd imagine that this will involve things like picking up injured NPCs and maybe giving them some paramedic care, and then getting them into your Cutlass Red or any of the other ships which have medical features, and then getting them back to the hospital. So I also think this is going to be a really important role maybe within organisations, having medics on hand just for if things go wrong during whatever else you're doing. And indeed, I've seen that there are a couple of orgs who are entirely dedicated to medical gameplay, want to be sort of almost the private hospital and ambulance service of the Star Citizen universe. Fleet logistics is a term I'd use to catch a number of areas, so refueling, repairing, rearming ships. The Stanton system that we're in the moment in the PU is quite densely populated, and there'll be other systems sort of as you get further out away from the core, which are which are less populated and therefore don't have a lot of the amenities and services that Stanton has. So you might not find as many space stations or landing zones where you can get your ship fixed up and restocked. So in that case, you're going to be relying on people operating ships which do these jobs and offer these services. So ships like this, the Crucible, which is in concept at the moment, so that has a hangar bay that it can sort of attach and provide services to small ships, or it can lose that bay and it can work on sort of even some of the larger ships like the cap ships. There's also its smaller brothers, the Vulcans, which do the same job, but I think they have to choose whether they are refueling, repairing, or rearming, whereas the Crucible has the opportunity to do it all. And one of the reasons a lot of this is more important as we go forward is that sort of upkeep of ships isn't going to be free. So you're going to have to keep your ship in good condition. Maybe you're going to get wear and tear as you use it. Maybe parts are going to degrade and become not so useful over time. And similarly, if your job or your sort of mission is taking you out into the further reaches of the galaxy, then you're not going to get very far if you don't have fuel. So something like the Starfarer, which will refuel ships on the run, is going to be very useful. And also these are going to be things that you can offer as a service to people outside of your group. So people are going to be in the market for fuel, so maybe you can sort of work with your org or your mates to put together a little group of ships that specialize in keeping other ships going. Exploration is all about getting out there and finding the stuff that hasn't been found yet, so that others can exploit it, or so that you can exploit it. I like how there are a number of professions which sort of interweave with other ones. So like trading, for example, like without trading you don't have combat, because unless the bullets are there for you to put in your gun, then you're not shooting at anyone. So exploration's kind of like that as well, in that if you don't find it, then how do you go about doing all of those other job roles, like mining, like salvage? I think there's going to be a lot of ways to approach exploration. So you could be an explorer within a larger organization, maybe one which focuses on something else, like mining. I'd imagine they'll employ teams of explorers to go out and try and find sort of rich seams of minerals that nobody's got to yet, feed the information back, and then the org will make a return on that find by exploiting it. Or it's probably a great one if you're looking to play with a group of mates, and maybe you can crew a ship like the Constellation Aquila or the Carrack, get out in the universe, find stuff, and sell the locations of that to people who are looking for it, or to information brokers who will pass the locations of these finds along. It's also a really important role in that explorers map jump points, so jump points are going to be used to navigate between systems. And I think while there are going to be some which are already mapped out, so there's a standard route from Stanton to the next system, there's probably some which won't be sort of explicitly told to us by CIG. So if you can maybe find like a new jump point that hasn't been identified yet, but let's just say that jump point goes straight from a system that is more frontier but really dense in high value resources, and then links that system straight back to a system like Terra, which has a lot of demand for those resources, then that's like really valuable information. So be hugely valuable to like traders, to miners, to the pirates who want to go after those miners and those traders. So while exploration might not have that same like this is how you're going to make money out of it, um, it's it's definitely going to be one of those backbone professions, and there's going to be dangers to face out there as well. So like one of the things that the devs are looking at putting into the game are creatures and sort of aliens. So when you go down and explore those planets, they're going to have some strange animals on them. Probably go find some strange plants as well. Maybe some of these have like fantastic medicinal properties. So maybe you'll take your stuff you've gathered to someone who specializes in medicine or specializes in science or specializes in illegal narcotics, and maybe sort of together you can put together something incredibly valuable. Coincidentally, exploration was one of the features that was mentioned in an early video that actually got my money out of my wallet and got me to buy a pledge. So what better to do if you do some exploration and find a nice moon with a beautiful atmosphere than to go there and build yourself a base. So these concept images are from the work that the devs have been doing on homesteads, but they have confirmed that this is something we're going to be able to look to build in the future. So individuals, orgs, are going to be able to put down a land claim on a moon or on a planet, and build themselves a home. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. So we've got things like the refinery decks in game at the moment, but maybe you'll be able to build your own refinery next to maybe a good mining spot, and get people to bring their metals to you to refine instead of to the NPC controlled ones. And obviously, much like in real life, a lot of people might want these bases, but might not want to actually build them themselves. So I think that opens up construction as a potential profession. Something that you could look to do. You could look to specialize in building bases on commission for people. So if you sort of take payment to build your client the base that they desire, maybe unleash your inner architect, or at least your inner bricky, and get to building some cool stuff. So I hope we're gonna have to think quite carefully about what type of base will suit what type of environment. They've definitely mentioned factors like you have to consider how you power it. So maybe there's a variety of different power systems. I personally hope, sort of having played a number of games like Ark Survival, I hope that they stick with this direction they seem to be going, where they're designing modules that you might be able to put together. One of the things which is a bit of a problem on servers for things like Ark is when bases are constructed out of tens of thousands of little pieces, that can really trash servers. And I hope as well that they make sure they open this up to all levels, that you can maybe buy prefabs of bases, stick them on your cargo ship, take them to where you want to put them down, and put them down. Maybe some smaller options, so that maybe you need like a land vehicle to get in there and get to a more hidden spot to build your base. But the ultimate sort of gold standard of base building is probably going to be around the Consolidated Outland Pioneer, which is sort of designed as almost a factory ship, able to 3D print sort of hab units and other modules that you might want for your base. just to end on something completely different, racing is a profession that they've iterated on a couple of times. So we've had things like the Murray Cup, and it's going to be all about sort of proving that you can go faster than your opposition while sort of being quite challenging in terms of handling. We've got some of the dedicated ships like this 350R or the Origin M50. And I think racing's going to have quite a cool social element to it as well. Sort of probably people coming together to watch some big races. Already there's a really good level of community engagement with this sort of thing. Sort of after you're done here, then I'd encourage you to just have a quick search for the Daymar Rally if you haven't seen that already. It's a community organised event with a sort of land vehicle cross-country trek across the surface of Daymar on a variety of vehicles. And we've got sort of, you can go and take a look around at the moment around Grim Hex. There's a racing sort of betting area with this huge floor-to-ceiling windows so that people can watch the racing around the asteroid fields. So I think this is going to be quite a cool little sort of side activity for a lot of us. But I'm also certain that there are going to be some totally professional racers out there who do nothing but see if they can get a little bit more speed around the tracks at Grim Hex and win some of the prestigious trophies. So as the sun sets on this mini-series for the time being, all that's left to do is just to say thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, then please consider subscribing, and just drop me that comment below to get yourself entered into the competition. I've had some really interesting chats with people, so I'd love to hear what you guys are looking forward to, what your plans are for the future in Star Citizen. So stay tuned. I'll keep putting out content as long as people find it interesting, and probably sometimes if they don't. And I'll keep trying to find little tips and tricks and cover any new updates there are to the game as soon as I understand them. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one.